another first for transgender rights in the province. Newfoundland's Gemma Hickey applied for a non-binary birth certificate in April, the first person in Canada to do so. The application was denied, but the fight's not over yet. Hickey is heading to court. Here and Now's Avneet Dillon was at the courthouse this morning and has more on that story.
Before heading into court, Gemma Hickey knew it would be a historic day. Along with lawyer Brittany Whalen, they filed an application challenging the Vital Statistic Act's change of sex designation provisions. Hickey decided to take further legal action after a disappointing response from Service NL.
I just felt that we as a province can do better, and I expect better, because I love this province.
There are only two options on the application forms at Service NL, male or female, without a third option for people like Gemma Hickey, who identify as neither.
To have non-binary as a third legal gender. I think that that's really important, at least another option for people like me.
Hickey is going to court on behalf of everyone who has ever been discriminated against for their gender identity.
And you know, right here at home, if one child gets beaten or bullied in the schoolyard, then we all need to step up, so this is for them.
If the court fight goes in Hickey's favor, there are more than just legal implications.
What matters is that we move forward as a society, and that everyone, including children who have to deal with these issues, feel that they can be the person or the individual that they want to be.
Hickey is optimistic that positive change will come from this move.
I do hope that the government will do the right thing. I feel that there is the political will to do so, and that I think it's the right move.
A court date has been set for July. Avneet Dillon, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, there's more trouble at the College of the North Atlantic tonight. 2 months ago, the province released a report that said the college has serious problems, including a lack of emphasis on teaching and learning. Now, one of its programs, respiratory therapy, has been suspended because it's lost its certification. As Here and Now's Avneet Dillon reports, that's leaving some students in limbo.
I think it was the epitome of unprofessional.
Heather White just completed her first year in the respiratory therapy program at CNA. Her class was informed of the program's suspension through a press release. She hopes the school can come up with a solution, but isn't holding her breath.
Right now, we're researching other programs in case it really doesn't go our way and they won't do anything for us.
Students were frantically calling the Federation of Students yesterday, and the group is frustrated with the college's response.
They're really not giving students alternatives and solutions. Even if they do reimburse tuition fees, there's other costs, living expenses and time.
The college's senior vice president of academics told me the program suspension is a wake-up call for the college. But it's the lack of transparency that's raising questions about the institution. The school didn't notify students when the program was put on probation.
It is really problematic for an institution to not disclose all the information within the program when students are making life decisions based on that.
White says Newfoundland and Labrador is losing talented healthcare professionals if the suspension is permanent.
I have a class of very hard-working friends, and they're a group of the most compassionate people I know. This province and its hospitals are the worst for the fact that they won't have my class practicing as respiratory therapists in it.
Students are still searching for answers. Heather says that the school is trying to see whether students who are already enrolled can still write the national licensing exam so they can return to studies here at CNA. But if that doesn't happen, there's no plan B. Avneet Dillon, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, staying with the fishery, fishermen say it's another blow to their industry. The Offshore Petroleum Board has approved offshore seismic testing in prime fishing areas on the Grand Banks. Now, seismic testing uses blasts of sound to search for oil and gas reserves. But members of the fishing industry don't plan on letting that happen. Here Now's Avneet Dillon has more on that story.
Just a few months ago, DFO cut crab and shrimp quotas. And now the oil and gas industry may be disrupting harvesters' livelihoods.
Members of the fishing industry say that seismic testing would interfere with the snow crab fishery taking place this month.
We have the Grand Banks that are already sensitive. Most commercial stocks are at critical levels or headed that way. At the same time that we've got marine testing, seismic testing that's going on that may have this incredible impact on the marine environments.
The Fish, Food and Allied Workers Union issued a press release on Friday, calling on the Offshore Petroleum Board to reconsider their decision to approve seismic testing.
This is a major concern, and we're absolutely saying that this must stop until after the fishery is done, and then we'll reconsider things, but it has to stop right now.
The presidents of Fish NL and FFAW agree on the environmental concern, but that's just about all they agree on.
From my perspective, the relationship between the oil companies and the union, for example, the FFAW, has been too close.
The president of FFAW denies that accusation.
Well, that's absolutely not true. Times in the past, we'll work with the oil and gas industry. We're going to talk to the companies if they're moving a rig to protect our harvesters or people who depend on the fishery.
Oil and gas companies want the best information before spending millions on drilling programs. That usually means seismic testing.
They certainly have to re-examine their decision here and look at a different option for getting the information they need. Harvesters depend on the fishery, and it's too important to risk with seismic blasting going on right now.
The Offshore Petroleum Board released a statement late this afternoon. It says it expects actively fished areas to be avoided, and it's asked the FFAW and the company to come up with a solution. Avneet Dillon, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, as summer blooms in St. John's, Coast Guard gets ready to head north. Tonight, the icebreaker Henry Larsen is setting sail for the Arctic. During preparations today, Here Now's Avneet Dillon got a tour of the ship.
The Coast Guard has been busy loading equipment and preparing for their departure later this evening. The ship has important work to do, breaking up ice and making sure fishermen and ferries can move around safely.
The Henry Larsen is one of 7 icebreakers the Coast Guard sends to the Arctic every summer. The red and white ships are the most visible signs of the government's presence in the north.
We're the snowplows for other ships, so if there's any ice breaking to do in order to keep the commercial traffic going, to resupply the northern communities.
And to help with that job, you need a long-range view.
We use the helicopter for several different things. It's a valuable tool when we're ice breaking for reconnaissance flights, the eye in the sky, to be able to take a look ahead farther than what we can see from the bridge, to pick the easiest way through the ice.
The ship's captain says the mission requires careful preparation so the crew has everything they need.
Once we leave, we're our own self-contained city. We have to have something to deal with everything from the routine tasks to any emergency that would come along.
The ship will also be supporting 2 scientific projects.
The second science mission has been monitoring the flow of water through the Arctic, through the Northwest Passage. There's a lot of interest, as you know, with global warming and ice melting and so on.
Chasing winter in summertime is something the captain has gotten used to. This is his 13th summer in the Arctic.
For people who want to see the North, people are paying tens of thousands of dollars to do that. And we get to do it as part of our day's work. And that's pretty special.
The Henry Larsen's next stop is northern Labrador, before heading to Iqaluit. Avneet Dillon, CBC News, St. John's.